You see, you analyze, and you elect. Now, watch your elected representatives think, strategize, and plan. Only on Lok Sabha television.
Hello and welcome to the State of Culture. September 15 was the United Nations International Day of Democracy. According to the United Nations, democracy is a universal value based on the freely expressed will of the people to determine their own political, social, and economic and cultural systems and their full participation in all aspects of their lives. Citizens are the most important players in democracy, but the world over, they feel that they have been sidelined by the government and bureaucracy, and that democracy is increasingly becoming government and election-centric. The State of Culture spoke to Dr. David Mathews of the Kettering Foundation in Ohio, United States, on his views on citizen-centric democracy. The Kettering Foundation is an important non-profit, non-partisan foundation that does research on democracy and democratic institutions.
It's a research organization. It's not a grant-making organization. It was started by inventors. And what it does is what inventors have always done, and that is they try to find inventive solutions, creative solutions to problems. We started, our inventors, the people here who invented the airplane and the self-starter and the automobile, were looking for mechanical inventions. We look for civic and political inventors and inventions. Well, if I had to sum it up, I would say what we've learned is that the work of democracy is work. It requires citizens who can come together and solve problems, can produce things that benefit their communities, society in general. And if citizens don't do that, then it's just impossible for governments, however effective they are, to do their jobs. In fact, the Nobel Prize was won, I think, 2 years ago by a neighbor of ours, Eleanor Ostrom, who demonstrated that what she called the co-production of public goods, people coming together to solve problems and to make things that were useful, was in fact the key to making our institutions work as they should. I would start with work. If you're going to work together, you've got to make some decisions about what you're going to do. So making decisions and working together are the same thing. They're joined. But there are all kinds of ways of talking to make decisions. We can argue with one another. We can complain. We can flip a coin to make a decision. But what makes decisions really difficult in any situation is that we are trying to achieve something that's valuable to us. But there are many things that are valuable to us. And it's just inevitable that achieving one thing that's valuable will have perhaps cost or consequences or even negative effects for something else that's valuable. So the real key to the way we make decisions is to have conversations in which we recognize these tensions, we face up to them, and we make the best choices, the best decisions we can. We make the best trade-offs that we can. A word for that used very commonly is deliberation. It simply means, it's an old Latin term, and it means to weigh carefully. So the way we talk when we are trying to decide has a lot to do with whether our decisions are sound or not. They can and they have, but they may not always be. There is a lot of pressure on colleges and universities now to produce people who can get jobs. Okay. Their original mission was to produce citizens who, of course, had jobs, but people who were able to advance the well-being of society as a whole, that were good citizens. So there is much debate in the United States now about how universities can continue to fulfill their civic mission with an economy that has increased enormous debt for young people. They come out and they have as much as the $35,000 in debt. They need to get a job. So it's very difficult. And yet there are a group of universities that are quite serious about their civic mission, because that mission has in fact shaped the character of our universities. Okay? It's prized critical thinking, it's prized learning to work with other people, it's prized being able to solve problems with others. The American university has been historically a wellspring of American citizenship. I've been a cabinet minister in our government. That's a little different from a representative. Cabinet members are appointed officials. They don't run for election in the. One of the problems that we dealt with when I was in the government back in the 70s, and we are dealing with now, is people's loss of confidence in government, the polarization that we have. I was just meeting before this interview with members of state legislatures, and they are concerned about this loss of confidence, which is not just in government institutions, but in all, in schools, even in our Supreme Court. It's a very serious problem, and it's compounded by the political polarization of the system. But the good news is that they are members of legislative bodies and government officials who know that this is a problem, and they are in the process of inventing ways, better ways to relate to the citizenry. And the citizenry, you can't all be on one side of a relationship. The citizens have to find better ways to relate. So we're looking for experiments in which there are tandem initiatives coming both from elected representatives, people who are in government in appointed positions on the one hand, and citizen groups on the other.
We're going in for a short break. Stay with us.
You see, you analyze, and you elect. Now, watch your elected representatives think, strategize, and plan. Only on Lok Sabha television.